here by Jalen Tucker, Connor Hibbett, wide shot. The UNT Mean Green absolutely dominated Temple last week, 45-14. And here to set the stage for you, I want to take it to our live reporter, Jazra Williams. Jazra?
Thanks, Mark. The Temple Owls stepped into Datku Stadium, and boy, were you right, Mark. It seemed as though they were stepped on, to say the least. The UNT Mean Green seemed like a cohesive unit. The thing that we've been talking about the past couple weeks, offense was on it. Chandler Rogers did amazing and honestly solidified a spot for him in the future. Defense was on it as well. They allowed 0 points in the second half, so it was a complete shutout for the second half of that football game, and I think they honestly came together really well as a team, and I think that it's kind of a fight between, is UNT really good? Was Temple just really bad? I mean, Temple was missing a couple of their key players, but despite that, UNT came away with the win for conference. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Jazra. And guys, I think Jazra was very much so on point to where UNT definitely showed up this past week. This was definitely the best game they've played all year.
Yeah.
Jalen, I want to go with you. Who was the MVP of this game?
I'm gonna say shout out to our defense. Like Jazra said, they allowed Temple to be scoreless that second half. They had 3 interceptions. So I mean, I was pretty impressed. We looked cohesive during this game. So I was definitely proud of our Eagles.
Yeah, it was a complete game finally from the team. And look, I know Temple, they're not the best team in the world, but they had the backup quarterback in, Quincy Patterson, who's more of an athlete than, say, a quarterback. Had they had E.J. Warner in that game, I think it would have been more interesting, obviously. But we took advantage of the opportunity. And we hadn't shown that in the previous games against Cal, who doesn't have that great of an offense, FIU, who doesn't have that great of an offense. We talked about this, right? Like in the past, like we didn't play that great of offenses and we struggled. Well, we didn't play that great of an offense this time, and we did not struggle. So I like seeing that progress in the defense.
Yeah, the defense has definitely taken steps as this season has progressed. But my MVP, and this sounds redundant because I say it every week, it's got to be the quarterback, Chandler Rogers.
Yeah.
I mean, he's played amazing so far. Once again, goes over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions once again. I mean, that's a recurring theme. He's got 1 pick on the year. He just doesn't turn the ball over. And it really amazes me that this guy wasn't named the starter from the very beginning of the season.
Yeah, I also was going to talk about Jamore Macklin too. He's only a sophomore, so he's been pretty impressive as well. So I think he had about 163 yards receiving. So I definitely think he's someone to watch out for the continuous years for UNT.
Yeah, I agree. That duo between Chandler Rogers and Jamore Macklin has been really special. You know, Macklin was a transfer in from Missouri, and he's had a great season so far.
And the biggest college football page on Instagram finally gave our guys a shout out.
Yeah, I saw that.
Jamore Macklin and then Rogers. So thank you, elite college football.
Shout us out.
So that was my transition into player of the game, or how about player of the week for us? ECF, elite college football. Thank you. Yeah, Macklin's been incredible. Hopefully we can keep him during the offseason because you know there's going to be some NIL deals under the table. That's where college football, that's what college sports is all about now. So hopefully we can have some opportunities for him. I guess the key thing for me in the game was a complete game. We've had great individuals in the past. I mean, last year we played for a Conference USA championship. We finished 500 on the season, but we had some good individual stars who hit the transfer portal and now are at Power 5 schools. So we've had individuals. We know that. My player of the game, I guess, is a complete game, and I guess more specifically the defense.
Yeah.
And we allowed 345 yards, but I liked us forcing turnovers, creating a difference. That's what you got to do as a defense today. It's hard to play shutdown defense with these 21st century spread offenses. But what you can do is create havoc, get sacks, tackles for loss, create turnovers. That's what really creates the separation from the good teams to the average teams. And maybe we are starting to get over that hump to becoming a better team and closer to a good team.
Yeah, and especially from when the defense has been one of the main struggles all year as it is. This giving up 14 points is honestly astonishing. From what we've been witnessing this past season, is definitely a good step forward. But I do want to talk about why you mentioned Chandler Rogers. He's got 12 touchdowns for only 1 interception. He's thrown for over 1,300 yards.
Yep.
Is he the quarterback for the future for the UNT Mean Green?
If we can keep him in Denton, then he is, of course, the quarterback for the future. But, I mean, he's a star. He's a budding star right now. He's blossoming before our eyes as a very, very good college quarterback. Yeah, 12 touchdowns, 1 interception, really great stuff from Chandler Rogers.
Connor, is he the quarterback for the future?
Yeah, definitely. Kind of like what Wyatt said, though, if we can keep him for the future. But yeah, this guy's been very efficient, and that's what you like to see from your starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Obviously, a quarterback can put up stats, but he's got to be efficient, consistent, and that's what we've seen from the get-go with this guy.
Yeah. And he has good speed as well. I've watching him, you know, he tries to stay as calm as possible in the pocket, but when he does get a little bit rushed, he's going to go run the ball. So he's not afraid to run. And he's not afraid to make some explosive plays and, you know, throw that ball. So I definitely think if he would have started at the beginning of the season, I think we might have had a different outlook throughout the rest of the year. But, I mean, hey, if we can keep him in Denton, I think we can look good for next year.
And that's the key is
Yeah.
keeping the talent in Denton, because we do end up getting talent. They just end up leaving when they see that they have better prosperities outside of Denton, Texas. But Jasper, I do want to get your opinions on this as well. Who is your MVP of the game, and is Chandler Rogers the QB of the future?
You know, Mark, I'm really glad that you asked me those questions at the same time, because the answer is Chandler Rogers for both of them. I think that Chandler Rogers has done amazing from the beginning of the season. It was a little shaky with Earl and Rogers, the Mean Green trying to figure out, okay, who's going to be our quarterback, who's going to lead this team offensively and defensively and the team as a whole. And I think that Rogers has really, really shown up. And he was even there at the beginning, and we saw glimmers of hope, but Rogers has really, like, solidified. It's without a doubt, it's going to be Rogers for the future. And honestly, he has allowed the team to kind of flourish, if you might say, just because, you know, Rogers is moving the chains on offense. He's allowing the defense to rest so defense can be at their full potential. Obviously, defense is, you know, taking care of business as they should be, but creating that time for a defense to actually, you know, rest and get what they need to get, all their criticism and whatnot from the coaches, really, really makes an impact. So I think that it's really good that Rogers is finally showing and stepping up like he needs to. And everybody's starting to like, okay, yeah, Rogers is that guy. I mean, honestly, I feel like Mean Green Gameday has been saying that for a minute since the beginning of the season, and I'm glad that it's really, really starting to show up in the stats.
Preach it, Jasper, preach it. But guys, I do want to go back to another question that Jasper actually brought up. So Connor, I want to go with you. Is UNT that good, or is Temple just that bad of a team?
More on the latter, actually. Temple just got beat last night at home, 55-0 against SMU.
Yep.
And it's apples to apples because they did not have E.J. Warner in that game as well. So without E.J. Warner, I'm not sure if Temple, here's the phrase I'm going to use again, I'm not sure if they have a pulse without E.J. Warner. Defensively, they've been one of the worst defenses in the country, and offensively, their offensive line struggles in pass protection. They can't really run block, and so if they don't have E.J. throwing it out there to at least some decent receivers, they don't really have a team. They don't really have much of a team to put out there. We give up over 240 yards rushing against Temple. That was with Quincy Patterson, who's more of an athlete. Our run defense ranks last in the country right now. Is it getting better than what it's been? Potentially. Are we improving as a team? Yes. But it's more on the latter. We are not 31 points better than Temple, especially if they were to have E.J. Warner. Remember, guys, with E.J., Temple was hanging with UTSA, who's getting healthier now. So Temple with E.J. is pretty good. We're not 31 points better than Temple. Yeah. I'm glad we took care of business in this game. We are, again, we're improving, but I don't think we're at the level of good yet.
Yeah.
Definitely. Jalen, do you think?
I think Temple is bad because looking at the rest of our schedule pretty much set up, we have some like tough games ahead of us. So playing against Temple was just our opportunity just to kind of just get those clicks together, so then we can just form towards the end of the season when we play teams like UAB and things like that. We can maybe like get wins down there in that way.
All right. Well, when we come back, we're gonna talk about the superlatives of the midseason. So we're gonna talk about the Heisman, Doak, Bolitnikoff, and Jim Thorpe. So please stay with us.
Let's get started. This is a motor vehicle. This is the blinker mechanism. To use it, push it up for the right blinker and down to go left. You're welcome. It was easy.
It's that time of year where everyone plays a dangerous game with the flu. Going in uneducated, you run the risk of symptoms like cough, migraine, and fatigue. Don't be like this guy. Combat the flu with cough drops, ibuprofen, and a good night's sleep. Be smart, don't catch the flu.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. We're going to take a look at a midseason superlative and go through some of the best awards that college football has to offer. And we're going to start with the Heisman. And I think it's pretty obvious to say that there is one clear favorite for who's winning Heisman. And to me, it is Washington's QB, Michael Penix Jr. He's just been on an absolute tear this season. But I want to take it to my analyst, Jalen. Who is your Heisman?
I definitely have to agree, Penix Jr. I mean, that win against the number 8 Oregon, I mean, that was impressive. I mean, I think if he gets it, he'll be Washington's first Heisman winner. So I'm definitely rooting for him. I mean, he has over about 2,300 yards this season, so he's looking impressive. He's looking dominant. So definitely Michael Penix Jr. for the Heisman this year.
I've got Michael Penix Jr. as well. He's got that big Penix energy. What can I say? I said it, guys. He's got that kind of energy that really provides the team with that extra set of adrenaline that can kind of get them over the hump. Because Oregon had all the momentum late in the game, and then Washington's defense got that 4th down stop, and then Michael Penix went right down the field and scored on what's actually been a pretty good defense so far this year. So yeah, I mean, look at the kind of season Washington's having, and they haven't lost in over a year. It's been since October 8th of 2022. They lost to Arizona State that day, and they're playing Arizona State today. I'm not trying to give anything. They're a 4-touchdown favorite in this game, so I'm not really worried about Washington. But yeah, they've been on a roll this year.
What?
Yeah, absolutely. I have Michael Penix Jr. as well for the Heisman. 23 passing yards on the season, 20 touchdowns to only 3 interceptions. He actually hasn't used his legs as much, which is something I like to see because you got to protect your star quarterback. But he's definitely not shy to use his legs. He's shown that at his previous stop, which is at Indiana. Speaking of Indiana, he has a great story of getting to Washington and getting to the place that he's at right now. He was at Indiana. He dominated. He played really, really good in that 2020 season, the shortened schedule. He tears his ACL. He hurts his shoulder. He has to have shoulder surgery. He transfers to Washington to get a fresh start after he lost a job at Indiana to, I believe, Connor Bazelak, the transfer from Missouri.
He's now playing at Bowling Green, by the way.
Yeah, and he lost the job to him at Indiana. Now he's at Washington. He's playing great, and I think he has Washington in a spot to potentially make the college football playoff.
Yeah. And then obviously we'll find that out later in the season as they have that bulk of the schedule with USC, Utah, Oregon State, and Washington State.
They're going to lose in Corvallis, Oregon.
Do you think
against
so?
Oregon State.
Oh, Beaver,
This guy in the Beavers.
You think so? You think so?
Yes.
You trust your Beavers.
Oregon State doesn't lose unless it's to Washington State somehow. They don't lose.
We're gonna find out really what Michael Penix Jr. is made out of in that 4-game stretch. But as of right now, I do believe he's a clear Heisman favorite. We're gonna go on to the Doak Award, and I think Jawar Jordan from Louisville. He's also been on a tear. He's rushed over 140 yards against Duke last week. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, and against Notre Dame he went off as well. So I like Jawar Jordan for the Doak Award. Jalen?
Yeah, I have Notre Dame's running back, Audric Estima. He is a workhorse for the Fighting Irish, and he has about 787 rushing yards. So I think he's been dominant for Notre Dame, and he's been able to push the offensive side of the ball for Notre Dame. So I definitely have him for the award this year.
I'm going to go Damian Martinez. Hint, hint. You want to guess who he plays for?
Who's he play for?
Oregon State's offensive line is one of the best in the country. They've got 2 running backs that average over 5 yards a carry. This is just a dominant rushing attack for Oregon State. That outside zone that the Beavers run, wow, is it dominant. It's Beaver time in 2023, y'all. Damian Martinez has been awesome. This is a guy that as a first-year starter last year, well, he didn't start the season as a starter, but he became the guy. He had nearly 1,000 yards rushing last year, and I think he could eclipse 1,000 yards because the next few opponents are not that great against the run. Arizona, Colorado, and then Stanford. So I would look for this guy to kind of break through for these next few weeks. He's been one of the better running backs in the country thus far. And if Oregon State can win their next 3 games, it's going to set up a top 10 showdown against Washington in Corvallis against the Huskies. Okay. Yeah. So, I would look for Damian Martinez. He's kind of one of those guys to bet on, like with player props as well, if you're into betting.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
Connor, you took a player from your Oregon State Beavers. I'm taking a player from my Texas Longhorns.
There you go.
Running back
There you go.
Jonathan Brooks. I have him for the Doak. He's got about 700 rushing yards in the season. He's got, he has about 10 touchdowns on the season as well. He's playing great football. He's running the ball really well. That Texas offensive line is really improved. He has also 120 receiving yards, add a touchdown to that. He's rushing for about 7 yards a carry right now. If you take his stats at this point in the season and compare him to Bijan Robinson's from last year at the same point in the season, he's got more rushing yards, more receiving yards, more touchdowns.
Are you saying he's better than Bijan?
No, I am not. No, Texas offensive line is much improved from when Bijan was there. But I am saying that the drop-off from Bijan to Jonathan Brooks, not as big of a drop-off as people might have thought at the beginning of the season. Okay. He's having a great year, and I'm expecting him to go for over 100 yards again today against Houston.
And this is the best offensive line Texas has had since probably 2006 or 7.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
They have 2 5-stars in the offensive line, 4 stars all over the place.
Baby.
They actually
Yeah.
have depth.
Yeah.
Yeah, hook them.
And as funny as it is, Jalen, I was going to pick Audric Estime, but from that head-to-head battle that they had against Louisville and Jawar Jordan exploding like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Understandable.
That's the reason I picked Jawar Jordan. But we're going to go on to the Biletnikoff winner. And as I know he's been underperforming this season, but I think that has to do a lot with his O-line and his quarterback play. But I have Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State. I think he's still the clear best receiver in the class coming into the NFL next year. But I know he's still averaging 20 yards of reception. Yeah. So he's still balling, but he just hasn't had the season that a lot of people would think he is. But Jalen, I want to go with you.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to pick Connor's Tigers for the Biletnikoff for the wide receiver, Luther Burden III.
There you go.
Mind you guys, he's only a sophomore on the team.
Yeah.
Young. So that means talent is going to continue to develop. And I know, obviously the transfer portal is a big thing, so he kind of obviously, he possibly transferred, but hopefully he stays in Missouri because based off their offensive line, they're really good this year. So he has over 800 yards receiving. He averages about 14 yards a game. He is pretty talented, only as a sophomore. So I think the longer his season goes, the better he's going to get. So I'm excited to see how his season turns out. He's been playing great.
Of course, you guys know I'm going to go with a guy from Missouri, Luther Burden Jr. for the Biletnikoff. I talked about 3 teams in the preseason: Oregon State, South Alabama, and Missouri. I thought these teams were kind of undervalued based on their talent. And we're going to be talking about another guy from Missouri here in a second, but we'll talk Luther here. So Luther has been the guy that's obviously had a breakthrough season for Missouri, but he's now in his favorite position, his preferred position, the slot. This is the featured receiver in the Missouri offense. There was another receiver from Missouri last year who transferred to Georgia. Yeah. He was the leading receiver. Everyone was talking about, Missouri's not going to be able to replace him. And I'm thinking, they got a better guy that's going to be playing there. This is going to be the featured guy. So, yeah, Luther Burden, again, if you're into player props, this was the guy to bet on coming into this year. He's going to be fantastic for Missouri from this point forward because he is the featured guy. This isn't just because he's been playing against bad competition. He's legit, and Missouri is legit. So, yeah, Luther's a guy to watch for. And with Missouri, with what they've got going on with the NIL stuff in their state, I don't think he's going to be going anywhere. I think he's going to be coming back to Columbia next year as well.
Yeah. No, I have Luther Burden as well. He's played amazing this year. You're talking about the former receiver Dominic Lovett, who transferred to Georgia. He was kind of overshadowed Luther Burden. Now, Luther Burden has a really interesting story. He was a 5-star wide receiver out of high school. He was the highest rated recruit in Missouri history since Dorial Green Beckham, if you remember him.
Yes.
He ended up going into the NFL playing for the Titans. But so you have Luther Burden coming in. Kind of underperforms. He returns punts for them. He plays kind of that boundary wide receiver, opposite side of Dominic Lovett. Now they move him into the slot. Brady Cook's played really good. The offensive line's played really good. And he's had a great season so far. Like you said, Jalen, over 800 yards receiving, 5 touchdowns. Great season from him. And I don't think you have to worry about him leaving anywhere. He's from Missouri. He was already a 5-star. He was already getting recruited by Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama. And he chose to go to Missouri. And now they're going to bring in potentially 5-star Ryan Wingo, wide receiver, to help join him. We'll see October 25th is when he commits. But he should be joining him, and they're going to be a great dynamic duo for the future.
All right, well, moving on to the defensive side of the ball, we got the Jim Thorpe Award. And I like a guy from Kentucky. I like Maxwell Hairston. I think he leads the nation in receptions with 5. He has 44 tackles on the season. He's been playing pretty good football. I know the Missouri guy that you're about to mention has been playing really good, but Jalen, I want to go with you.
I got Malik Starks of Georgia for the DB safety. I mean, he's a true freshman. He has 25 tackles, 17 solo tackles on his own. So I think he's been really impressive for Georgia. Another young player. So yeah, got him.
Let's go with Chris Abrams-Drain, a cornerback from Missouri. He's arguably been the best corner in all of college football this year. This Missouri team has a lot of talent, guys. They're going to have several draft picks next year. So, yeah, look for Chris Abrams-Drain this year.
Yeah, me too. I got Chris Abrams-Drain, 4 picks, 31 tackles. He's having a great year.
All right. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the playoff predictions, so please stay with us.
Has the weight of stress and anxiety ever felt too heavy to overcome? Wish there was a safe place to confide in? Wish granted. At UNT, we offer counseling and testing services to students located on the 3rd floor of Chestnut Hall. UNT, we're here for you.
Hey man, are you okay in there? You look terrible. Have you been up all night? Don't you know that according to the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, staying up all night can have a negative effect on your GPA?
Sleep?
Yeah, go to bed.
Live from UNT, it's Wheel of Culture!
Welcome back to Wheel of Culture. Our contestant is so close to solving this puzzle. But first, it's time to give the wheel a spin. Wow, you landed on London, one of the many places where you and your fellow students can go on a chance to experience new culture. But only if you can solve this puzzle.
I'd like to solve the puzzle. Study abroad.
That's correct. You just won yourself a trip to study abroad in London, England, and you can too. Just go to studyabroad.unt.edu to see deadlines and apply for scholarships. Get ready to study abroad.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. We're going to take a look at what we think is going to be the college football playoff for the last time for 4 teams. Next year, they're going to go on to have 12. But we're going to take a look at the last 4 playoff teams that we think are going to happen. And starting with mine, I have number 1 Georgia Bulldogs. I think to be the man, you got to beat the man. And as much as I think Georgia has regressed from what they were these past couple of years, I do believe that they'll still get the number 1 seed. I just don't think anyone in the SEC is going to beat them. So I got Georgia at number 1. And number 2, I have the Michigan Wolverines. I like what Michigan's doing is besides of what maybe they could be doing for the cheating wise, but I do think they still have a very talented team. They do get Ohio State at home, and that is a big deal for them. Their hardest game is going to be at Penn State, as like you like to mention, Wyatt, but I do think Michigan will prevail. Number 3, I have Florida State. I think they've gotten the bulk of their where they could have lost. I think they very well could have lost to Clemson when they did play them, but they survived. I really don't see anyone else beating them out of the ACC, so give me Florida State. And number 4, I have the Texas Longhorns. I think that they're going to avenge their loss to Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship. I think the Pac-12 is going to beat up on one another, which sadly was the reason why they're not going to be in it. And that's when Texas is just going to jump whoever it was to be the Pac-12
Not
champion.
even Oregon State?
No, I'm sorry, Connor. Not even Oregon State.
No
I'm
Beaver
sorry.
time there.
But yeah, that is my top 4. Jalen, I want to go with you.
Okay, so my top 4 is almost kind of similar to yours, Mark. So my first slot right there is Georgia. After they beat Kentucky 51-13, crushed them, of course. I think they're proving that they are capable of getting a three-peat. I think that's really rare in the college football league. I just think they are just a dominant team. I mean, they had 608 yards over the Wildcats, and their back half of their schedule is super manageable. So they're going to breeze through the rest of the season. So it's all about making sure they're fresh and healthy for that postseason game. So I definitely got Georgia for my number 1. My number 2 is also the Wolverines. Michigan hasn't get tested yet, but I know when they have teams like Penn State coming up and Iowa State coming up, that's what's really going to test their ability, how they're going to be. I mean, they average about 37 points a game. So, I mean, and they haven't been letting much their opponents score more than 10 points. So they have been pretty dominant this season. So I got Michigan as my number 2. I got number 3, Florida State. I mean, they're 6-0. There is no sign of them slowing down. I mean, Jordan Travis is a beast as a quarterback. So I definitely got Florida State as my number 3. And then my number 4 is Washington. I mean, you got Michael Penix Jr. Come on, guys. I mean, possibly the Heisman Trophy winner right there. I mean, they hold up their half against Oregon. I mean, they play USC, so they have some good potential making it into that playoff game. So I definitely got Washington.
Connor?
So at number 1, I've got Oregon State. No. At number 1, I'm actually going to go with the Michigan Wolverines. The biggest question mark for this team is whether or not their second-string analyst can step up after their first one got suspended for the science team. Yeah, Jim Harbaugh is talking about this depth, right? I mean, where's the depth off the sidelines? So we're going to find out. This Michigan team's legit. I think they've just got what it takes this year. They're finally going to win a bowl game in the postseason, and play for the national championship. Maybe. Second, I'll go Georgia. There's a reason why I'm going to have this ordering here, and I'll explain here in a little bit. Until you beat Georgia, until you dethrone them, I'm just going to continue to slide them in there, and they're not going to really play too many great teams moving forward. Biggest thing for Georgia, do they win the SEC championship? Because if they don't, I'm not sure if they get in because of the lack of quality regular season wins outside of the awesome Missouri Tigers. Number 3, let's go with the winner of Ohio State and Penn State. I'll pick the home team there. I'll go with the Buckeyes. But if Penn State were to win that game, I think they'll slide in at number 3. Okay. And again, I'll explain the order here in a second. And then number 4, we'll go with Florida State. So the reason why I have that order is because I don't think if Michigan were to be number 1 because of the strength of schedule over Georgia, I don't think they're going to have Michigan at 2 because they don't want them to play back-to-back, well, not back-to-back weeks, but they don't want them to have to face the other Big Ten East school a second time, if not in the they're okay with the national championship, not for the semifinal. So that's why I had that order also to go with Michigan's strength of schedule. Not that it's great, but it might be better than Georgia's because of who they're going to be playing in November compared to who Georgia's going to be playing. That's why I have it the order that I do.
Very similar to usually SEC situation.
Yeah.
But Wyatt, I want to go with you.
All right, yeah, so I got Georgia number 1. I don't think that's because I think Georgia's the best team in the country. I just can't get over how easy that schedule is. The only tough games that they have are Tennessee, and they'll be playing at Tennessee, of course. And then they have Ole Miss, but they get Ole Miss at home. So I think they'll handle both of those games, and they'll slide into the 1 seed undefeated. I think they'll win whoever they play in the SEC championship, as the SEC West is kind of beating up on each other this year.
Yeah.
So whether that's Alabama or LSU, maybe even Texas A&M, we'll have to see.
Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas. Next up, I have Penn State. So like Connor said, the winner of this Ohio State-Penn State game is who's going to make it, I think, out of the Big Ten. And I think that Penn State's going to win today. So give me the Nittany Lions. I really love Drew Aller. I really love their running backs and Nick Singleton. I really love Katron Allen, Abdul Carter on the defensive side of the ball, Kalen King Jr. is at the cornerback. Really good stuff. That Penn State team is really loaded. Number 3, I have Washington. I think Washington will drop a game, which is why they're my number 3 team.
Oregon State.
They'll drop someone, maybe even Oregon State. They'll drop a game somewhere. Their schedule is too tough for them to come out unscathed. But as long as they're a 1-loss team and a Pac-12 champion, they'll be in the playoff. This is going to be really important, by the way, the conference championship, because there's so many good quality teams this year that are going to have 1 loss or maybe no losses. So you have to win your conference championship game to get into the playoffs this year. My 4th team is going to be the Texas Longhorns, and that's for the reason I just mentioned. I think that they avenged their loss, like you said, Mark, and they beat Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game. Florida State I don't have in there because I think even if they lose a game and they win the conference championship, their schedule isn't tough enough for them to get in. That's just my honest opinion. I think that's how the playoff committee will look at it. I don't think that they have the strength of schedule to get in, even with a conference championship win. So yeah, those are my 4 teams right there.
All right, and I do want to toss it to Jazra, who also has her own top 4 teams. So Jazra?
My number 1 team is going to be Michigan. I think that they have played amazing football so far. I think they're really, really keeping it together. And honestly, my 1 and 2 could be a little bit interchangeable. Just the only reason why Michigan is my number 1 is because I do think that they overcome the difficulty of their schedule moving forward. I think that that is going to be something that they face, and they are going to come away with a win. But my number 2 is going to be Georgia. A little bit similar to Mark and Jalen's predictions. Georgia does have a very easy schedule going forward, but they have gone down a little bit. But I think that Michigan honestly just has a little bit more rooted like this year. It just seems like they have some punch this year, despite the political issues on their sideline and whatnot. But I think that honestly Michigan they have that fire this year. And I think when a Michigan team is really, really doing good, I think that it's good to put them at number 1. And then with Georgia, obviously, Bulldogs, they're gonna continue to do well. And I think that, with Mark saying you can't be the man until you beat the man, yes, but like I said, my 1 and 2 are a little bit interchangeable. So I would be okay, honestly, with either being 1 or 2. And then for number 3, I have Florida State. Florida State has played really good football. We have Travis at the quarterback, so he's doing really, really well. I think he's really leading Florida State's offense, and they're going to just continue to do great moving forward. And then, unfortunately, as much as I don't want to, I'm going to have the Longhorns at number 4. I know Wyatt is very, very excited about that. But yeah, no, I have Texas at number 4. And we mentioned earlier that when you see like a good Texas team, and we haven't seen one in a long time. We haven't seen a good Texas team in a minute, probably since 2006. And so when there's a really good Texas team, you have to put them in for that playoff spot because, offense is good, defense is good. So with these Longhorns really, really just being solid this year and not backing down, I think that they have solidified and secured their spot to be in that playoffs.
All right. Well, I think it's safe to say college football is better when Texas is
I absolutely
legit.
agree.
Yeah.
Great picks, Jazzer, especially that 4th team. That was really
When we come back, we're going to preview the UNT Mean Green taking on number 23 Tulane. So please stay with us.
Can I see your voter registration, please? All right, you're good. No registration, no entry. All right. Let me see your voter registration card, please.
I'm not registered to vote.
No registration, no entry.
Dude, my friends are already in there.
No registration, no entry.
What the?
Join the club. Register to vote today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Me and Green Game Day. I am your host, Marc Breer, joined here by Jalen Tucker, Connor Hibbett, Wyatt Schott, and I want to preview what could be the hardest opponent UNT has to face today, and number 23, Tulane Green Wave. I'm just going to say it. I don't know if we're optimistic on this panel right now, but I do want to start with you, Jalen. Is this the UNT's toughest opponent this year?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, we look at the game. Tulane played Memphis last week, and they dominated against Memphis. I mean, I love my Tigers, but I knew against the Green Wave, it was just they were going to get swarmed by that Green Wave, drowned, and that's what's going to happen to us at this game. And we are playing on the road in New Orleans against Tulane. And they just cracked in the 25 rankings. Now, do I believe we might can score maybe like 1 touchdown, maybe 2? Yes, hopefully. I just don't want us to have a fat goose egg next to our name. But I'm just hoping we can just hang in there with Tulane. I mean, we already know Tulane's definitely going to be in that conference championship. So I just think if we can just put up maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns, that'll be a good look for us. But we're definitely not winning this game, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to put up a goose egg. But
this isn't wood, Connor.
it's not wood. It's already bad luck. Keep going. Tulane, they have not really kept their foot on the gas this year. Mm-hmm. Like when they played UAB, it was a close game for practically the whole entire game until Tulane scored a touchdown on 4th down towards the end of the game. So maybe it can be a similar game where we're kind of staying with them. Do I think we're going to win this game? No. Can we cover? It's a 20-point spread. Yeah, we can cover. These are 18 to 22-year-olds. You don't know what the consistency is going to be like on a down-by-down basis here. Maybe we can get a backdoor cover. I would absolutely love that. Look, we talked about the progress, earlier in the show. Mm-hmm. I like what I've seen from the team. We're one of the least penalized teams in the country, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So only 3 penalties last week against Temple.
Yeah, and Tulane's been penalized more so than we have by quite a lot. And again, they haven't kept their foot on the gas against a lot of these new AAC teams this year. So maybe it can be one of those kind of games where we're kind of staying with them. Maybe Tulane's not 100% mentally prepared. We're going to be playing with house money. We're going to have nothing to lose in this game, except for maybe the final score. So yeah, maybe we can keep things interesting for a little while.
Yeah, definitely. I think Tulane's our toughest opponent on the season. Of course, last year they went 12-2, beat USC in the Sugar Bowl, I believe. One of those bowl games. They beat USC.
It was here. It was in Dallas. Yeah, it was in Dallas.
Okay, so Cotton Bowl.
Cotton Bowl.
Yeah. Okay, so big win in the Cotton Bowl, New Year's Six game for Tulane. Huge season. Willie Fritz is their head coach. Let's see, how many years has he been at Tulane now?
He's been at Tulane, I think, since like 2017 or 18.
Yeah, he's built a really good program there. He took a team that wasn't very good. He's built them to where they are now. They've had almost beat Oklahoma a couple years ago. He's got a great program over there in New Orleans. They're, like I said, 23rd ranked in the country. Michael Pratt is their quarterback again. He had a great year last year. He was injured a bit this year, but he's back now. He's fully healthy. This will be definitely the most difficult team that we play on the schedule, even more difficult than Cal. I know Cal's Power 5 team doesn't matter. Tulane's much better than Cal.
Yes.
SMU's real good too, though.
SMU, UTSA.
It's a rival, though, so
it could go. No, I don't know.
Not anyway, but a rival, it's like it has like that same vibe to it, regardless of how good or bad the teams are. And so because of that, I would say, okay, maybe Tulane's our most difficult opponent. We play both on the road. Though.
Yeah, I mean, we played Tulane on the road. We played SMU on the road. We play Memphis at home on our homecoming game next week.
Oh, wait, is that the toughest team you play this year?
No, I'm just saying and then we play UTSA. So we have all these next 4 games that are just going to be rough for us. So it's already starting off bad when we're playing Tulane. So, yeah.
Hey, we have the strength of schedule. If we win out, we're going to the playoff. Let's go.
Yeah,
let's go.
Get us in there.
I mean, I do want to pitch it to our very own Jazzer Williams. Jazzer, you wanted to preview this game?
Yeah, I think that just looking at all of the outside factors besides stats and intangibles, let's look at the intangibles. The Mean Green Eagles are flying out to New Orleans, quite literally, and playing in New Orleans is definitely some feat because the energy in New Orleans is insane, and at Tulane, especially breaking the top 25, that crowd presence is definitely going to be there and be present. So the Mean Green are going to feel that, along with everything that the Tulane Green Wave has to offer on the field, offensively, defensively. Hopefully, Rodgers and the offense can remain and stay strong in that pocket. But it's definitely going to be a battle. And also, honestly, I want to talk a little bit about something that we haven't really brought up is that, so this past week we played the Temple Owls, and that we've talked about, like, just being honest, Temple's a bad football team. And so playing the Temple Owls and then turning around next week and then playing a top 25 football team is definitely something. I don't know how Coach Morris is going to talk to his team about that, because it's amazing that our Mean Green got a win, but now they're like, okay, good win, guys, really cohesive, complete game, as we've talked about. Now you have to go play the Green Wave, and it's not going to be pretty. So I think that just with that turnaround is definitely going to be something difficult. I feel like for a lot of the players to just wrap their head around, like, okay, Temple, we can try some things and really work on our defense and our offense and get some stuff together. But I think it would have been nice to have a couple like buffer games until we really get into the meat of that schedule. And when we're talking about meat, we mean meat, because we're playing Tulane, we're playing Memphis, we're playing SMU, we're playing UTSA for the next month. The Mean Green has a tough schedule the next month. So I think that's going to be really difficult, but honestly, Tulane is definitely going to take this. There's no doubt about that.
And thank you so much, Jazra. And real quick, guys, I did want to say, are there any key players or keys to the game that UNT needs to do? Wyatt, I want to go with you first.
Yeah, I mean, they have to limit turnovers, obviously. They have to force turnovers, which is something that Tulane doesn't do. Michael Pratt has 1 turnover on the entire season. But they have to do that. This is going to be a challenge. This is going to be an uphill battle, because Tulane's got guys all over the field. They got Mekhi Hughes, their leading running back, 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. They have Lawrence Keys III, 460 yards, 5 receptions. That's a wide receiver. They have Lance Robinson, 4 picks. They have Darius Hodges, 5.5 sacks. Jesus Machado, 46 tackles. They got guys all over the place for this Tulane team. They're filled with stars. So we have to play our best football of the year. They have to play their worst football of the year, probably. And we do have a shot. I don't want to say we don't have a shot, because when you have an offense with this much firepower, it can happen. It's college football. Crazy things happen all the time. I do think Tulane wins this game, but I think that UNT can make it interesting just based off their offense alone.
Real quick, Connor,
They're 18 to 22-years-olds. We have a chance to win this game, like Wyatt said. Anything can happen in college football. I want to see our offensive tackles be a little bit better in pass protection than what they've been the past couple of weeks. That's going to be the key to the game for our offense to keep it interesting.
And real quick, Jay.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think we just have to go in there and just hold our own against Tulane. We just got to try to play our best football yet.
All right. Well, when we come back, we're going to take a look at some of the best college games that has to offer today. So please stay with us.
Has viajado muy lejos, mija.
Tienes razón, mamá.
All right, look up here. 1, 2, 3.
Mom, Dad, I got it. You're right, Mom. I have.
Are you feeling okay? No, I've been feeling gross all week.
Maybe you should go get a COVID test.
But I already have all 3 of my shots.
Yeah, but you can still get it. I mean, maybe you should go get one just in case.
Yeah, you're right. We have that party and all that.
Yeah.
Where do we even get tested here?
Let me check.
You can find free COVID testing sites at the University Union, room 381 on weekdays, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., and on weekends, 1 p.m. to 7 p.m., and at Chestnut Hall, room 120 from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. You have to show the QR code given to you when you arrive for an appointment. Tests take no longer than 10 minutes to complete. Results will be sent through text or email within the next 48 hours.
I got a negative COVID test. Me too. Oh my God, let's go to the party. Yes. Let's go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mean Green Gameday. We're all five at the desk right now, looking all pretty. We're gonna take a look at some of the best games college football has to offer this week, and we're gonna start with, I think it's the biggest game of the day.
Yep.
Number 7, Penn State versus number 3, Ohio State. I have the Ohio State Buckeyes. I think just because it's at home, that's where they're gonna get Penn State. It is a rivalry game though, so I would not be surprised if Penn State wins.
That's an early kickoff. 11 a.m. is the start of that game. So I'm surprised. I would have thought that would have been like a later evening game since it is so big. But I also do have the Buckeyes for this game. I just don't think Penn State has they lack the explosive on the offensive side of the ball. So I just think it's going to be a close matchup game just because it is a rivalry. I'm expecting it to be maybe like by a touchdown or maybe even a field goal. I think it's going to be really tight or maybe even overtime. I don't know. I think since the heat of since it's rivals, it's going to be interesting. So give me the Buckeyes.
I think Penn State might have been holding back here to start the season because they haven't. There's like some chart that I read that basically shows like they have not been like having like their whole entire offense yet. They haven't been showing everything within what they've got. I'm going to go with Ohio State though because it's in Columbus. I'm kind of with you, Mark, with that. But man, I could see either team winning this game. This is going to be really fun and probably lower scoring than what it normally is.
Yeah.
If this game was at Penn State in Happy Valley, I would take Penn State by a touchdown. It's in Columbus, so I'm taking Penn State by a field goal. Penn State's offense, I think, can be really, really good. Drew Aller's their quarterback. They have Nick Singleton as a running back. They have Katron Allen back there. The biggest thing also is going to be wide receivers, DBs on both sides of the ball. So it's going to be Penn State's wide receivers. Can they make separation against Ohio State? And can Penn State's DBs, they're big physical DBs, they're going against Marvin Harrison Jr. Not Emeka Egbuka, who's out today with injury, but they're going against Julian Fleming, Cardinal Tate, Brandon Ennis. They have great skill position players at Ohio State. They have for a long time. They recruit that position hard. Brian Hartline is their wide receivers coach. He does a great job. So it's going to be a very tall task for that Penn State secondary. But if they can get it done, I think they can win. I think they will.
Give me the Buckeyes. I think that anytime there's a rivalry game, like we've said, it's really a head-to-head, honestly, it's really about that energy. And I think that Ohio State is going to have that energy today. They are playing at home, but, rivalry games, it really depends on who really brings it. And I honestly still think that Ohio State is going to get it done today. I think Wyatt, you make great points about the wide receivers and the DBs. That secondary is going to be very important for Ohio State with all the matchups that they're going to be facing and that they're going to be targeting. So I think that Ohio State gets it done, but it will be a low-scoring game. It is not going to be, some big scoring game. It's definitely going to be kept to the smaller numbers.
And I will say this, Ohio State is missing their starting running back, Trayvon Henderson, and their best defensive back, Denzel Burke. They will be out this game. And Emeka Egbuka probably won't play also. So it's three of the best players that won't play.
Penn State's defensive ends against Ohio State's offensive tackles are also very interesting because I think Penn State will win that battle.
There's going to be a lot of matchups tonight.
You guys, y'all are talking a lot of pro Penn State talk, and y'all are all picking Ohio State.
Because
Go home team.
Because it's at Ohio State, and like the only team that's dethroned Ohio State recently, it's Michigan.
Right.
That's why.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
But these are two ultra talented teams. These two teams might have the most first round picks in next year's NFL draft. So I can't wait to watch this game. This is going to be a physical game.
Well, going to an SEC battle going on. We got Mississippi State versus Arkansas, and I don't think either of these teams really are that talented, but I do think KJ Jefferson is talented. So that's why I'm taking the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Both teams are at the bottom of the West SEC. So both teams are definitely seeking for their first conference win, but I'm going to have to take the Razorbacks. I mean, I went to school in Little Rock, so I was 2 hours away from Fayetteville. They're not, I think both teams are coming in. They're not the strongest, but I think since it is in Arkansas, I think they're gonna prevail. So give me the Razorbacks on this one.
Give me Arkansas straight up and minus the spread, -6. Mississippi State's starting quarterback will not play in this game. He won't be available. Arkansas is much better than their record. They've lost in competitive games. Mississippi State might be worse than their record. So give me the Razorbacks, and I think they'll win decisively to get their first SEC victory of the year.
Yeah, me and Connor were talking about this before the show. This Arkansas team reminds us a lot of 2021 Nebraska, which was a team that went 3-9 and lost every game by one score. Arkansas has a brutal schedule. They lose close games, but I think they get it done against a bad Mississippi State team.
Jazra?
I think we have all come to an agreement on the panel today, and as you'll see, there's a lot of that that later in the block. And I'm going to go with Arkansas just because it is a home team, and you guys make some great points. That point spread thing, a lot of people don't see that when they look at, oh, they won, they lost. The point spread, and when you really get into that box score, and if it's one of those teams that you have to watch the games. Yeah. I think that Arkansas is definitely going to take this one today. All right, well, we're going to go from SEC to the Big Ten, and we got Rutgers versus Indiana. And no. I like I know Connor loves himself some Rutgers Scarlet Knights, so I do too. So give me the Rutgers Scarlet Knights.
Yeah, Rutgers have been they play the best when they be playing those hard-fought games. So I mean, I'm excited for this game. I'm excited for the Rutgers. I mean, they've been looking pretty impressive this year. So give me the Rutgers as well.
Yeah, I'll go with the Scarlet Knights here as well. If they tried, they would have beaten Michigan. I'm telling you. If Rutgers would have tried, they would have beat Michigan. They were being nice to Michigan. Rutgers would have had that in the bag.
Or Michigan either played.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Rutgers head coach actually talked about that at a halftime interview. Yeah, but looking back at it, maybe we understand what he was trying to say now. Rutgers is a very well-coached team, by the way. They don't beat themselves. They don't turn the ball over that much. I think this team may not even just finish 6-6. I think they might even finish with a winning record this year. They'll play Iowa, and they'll probably beat Iowa like 6-3. Yeah. They'll have to go to Iowa. But yeah, watch out for Rutgers to make a bowl game. I know I talked about that a few weeks ago. Yeah, the Scarlet Knights are better than people think.
Yeah, 6-3 is a bit ambitious. It might be 3-2 with a safety.
That's true. Take the under in that game, though.
But yeah, what a gross game we're talking about. Rutgers at Indiana. But I'm all for it. I want Rutgers to win this one real bad. Make bowl eligibility. Kyle Monungai, watch the running back for Rutgers. Quarterback Gavin Wimsatt's really good. Yeah, give me Rutgers.
Rutgers is a very gritty team, and they're very complete this season. And I really like that about Rutgers. So give me the Scarlet Knights as well. I think that going to Indiana, it's not going to be pretty, but I think the Scarlet Knights prevail, and they get the win today.
All right. Rutgers is favored by a touchdown on the road. I would not have said that coming into the season. I mean, I like the way their schedule's set up, but I still would not have believed that they would have been a touchdown favorite on the road against a Power 5 team.
When's the last time they've been a touchdown favorite on the road? I would love
I wish
to
I knew that.
Were you born?
Were you born? That's a great question.
1993.
We're going to go back down to the SEC, and we got number 17 Tennessee, versus number 11 Alabama. And I like Alabama in this one. Jalen?
Yeah, they're both two teams that are strong contenders for the playoffs. I just think Bama's defense is going to overwhelm Tennessee's offense. So give me the Crimson Tide.
I think Alabama's going to win this game, but I think this is going to be one of the lowest scoring games we have seen between these two since maybe 2009 when the final score was like 12-10. Yeah, that blocked field goal at the end. That was a fantastic game. I watched that game from start to finish, and I'm probably going to watch this game from start to finish. I love defense. I love lower scoring games, and I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. I'm also feeling confident with the under 48.5 points. It's actually gone down in the last hour, now down to 47.5. I'll take Alabama at home. I think they're going to have a little bit of that revenge factor from last year. It was 52-49 last year. I don't even know if I don't know if these teams are going to combine for 49 points today.
Yeah, no, and I don't think they will. I don't know if any team gets over 20. I would be surprised if a team breaks 20 this game.
Turnovers,
both
it'll be
really good defenses. Tennessee, and you're not used to that from Tennessee. You think Tennessee, you think Hendon Hooker, Jalen Hyatt, explosive offense, 49 points against Alabama. That's what you think of. That has been the complete opposite this year with Joe Milton at quarterback. They have been defensive sound. They've been defensive focused. They have good defensive line, improved secondary, which I was really impressed with. Their secondary was really, really, really bad. They gave up like 60-plus points to South Carolina last year. Yeah. And that was all because of their secondary. This is a really bad matchup for both teams. If this was at Tennessee, I would take the Volunteers, but it's at Alabama, so I'll give me the Crimson Tide.
You're really going into my point that I was going to make. Give me Alabama, just because it doesn't matter with these teams. Like I was saying earlier in the panel that we were talking about, that it's the energy. And as we saw last year, if you watch the end of the Tennessee-Alabama game, you would saw that it was a Connor, what would you use to describe the Tennessee-Alabama game of the stealing of the field goal?
Oh, that was great.
If you did not watch that game, the energy of these teams, the fans at Tennessee stole their own field goal and then threw it in the river. So imagine what the energy is going to be like in this Alabama stadium. And yes, it is Bama, and it's going to be filled up with Bama fans. And, that is going to be a big thing for this home team. But I'm telling you, them Tennessee fans are coming. They're on their way right now if they're not already there. So that energy in the stadium, it could be half and half, honestly. I would not be surprised if it was half and half. And like you were saying, White, it's two very strong defensive teams, so it's really about who shows up today. It's not a rivalry game, but energy-wise and fan base-wise, I think that's going to be a very, very fun game to watch. I'm really excited to watch this thing. Give me Alabama.
Tennessee fans also throw mustard onto the field, which is
Coaches.
Hype up the security.
Those volunteer fans, man. There's something else.
They volunteer as tribute.
We're going to go to number 16 Duke versus number 4 Florida State. And I like the Seminoles in this one. I think Duke has overachieved from what they're supposed to.
Yeah.
So give me Florida State to set them straight.
I mean, I think Florida State has been a little bit inconsistent on the offensive side of the ball, and I think Duke's defense has been strong. I mean, they have definitely came up. I mean, like I think I've talked about this early in the show, but Duke is just known for as a basketball team, but they've become up as football. So yeah, give me Florida State for this game, though.
I'll go Florida State. Mike Elko's a heck of a coach for Duke, but give me the Seminoles in this game.
Yeah, give me Florida State as well, but I'm just saying, guys, watch this one. Don't throw this under the rug just because it's Duke, all right? Duke has a really good run defense. They get Riley Leonard back. It's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think.
I think it's going to be a really great game, but give me Florida State. It's going to be in my top 4 playoff predictions. I think Florida State's going to continue to roll through Duke.
All right, well, time to hopefully say our prayers because we got UNT versus number 23, Tulane. Give me the green wave. I think Mean Green are not going to be doing good today. So give me Tulane.
I'm just hoping we can maybe score at least one touchdown, do as best we can. So give me Tulane as well for this game.
I'll go with the green wave. I just want to see a competitive game, at least maybe keep it interesting.
Yeah, give me Tulane as well. I hope that we cover the -20. I'm not super confident in that, but I hope we do. Give me Mean Green, Tulane.
I'm also going to go with Tulane, Green Wave. I think that UNT is traveling out to New Orleans, and it's going to be interesting, hopefully. I think that they do something on the scoreboard. I hope that they do something on the scoreboard. I hope that defense still continues to be there. I know that the Tulane's offense is pretty good, and so I hope that defense can show forth something, all the progress that we've been expecting and they've shown in this last game. I really hope that shows up today against Tulane, but yeah, give me Tulane.
Well, before we sign off, one hope of optimism. Last time UNT played a ranked team, UTSA, they won. So hopefully UNT wins today. So for Marc Barrera, Jalen Tucker, Connor Hibbett, Wyatt Shot, Jasper Williams, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Have a great day.